G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the Arsehole, where in our first story, OP kicks their sister out of the family gathering because they won't stop with abuse towards OP's adopted son. Spicy story, and I think you're really going to like it. And if you do, I want you to smack that like button, sit back, relax, chuck a prawn of the Barbie, and you know what to do. Have a good one. Am I the arsehole for kicking my sister out of my family gathering after a comment about my adopted son? Some feel that I, 32 male, should have handled the situation, but I don't see how I'm wrong. Me and my sister, 37 female, are not as close as we used to be because of some messed up stuff that happened years ago. I had my son Jesse, 9 years old, pretty young. Months after that, to my surprise, my ex was pregnant again. Only I knew that it wasn't me, because having an infant to take care of and provide for left me with zero interest in sex, and we found out it was my sister's fiancé, ex now, that she was seeing behind our backs. It hurt. Worst pain ever. But for my son's sake, I tried to get past it. I come from a family of half-sibs too, so I wanted my son to be close to his half-brother Keith. Surprise, not only were they, my ex and my sister's ex, horrible lying cheaters, but also terrible parents. Both got hooked on drugs, and it only escalated from there. He got locked up when Keith was 3. This particular issue with my sister happened a couple of years ago. My ex got sick, and she was scared of Keith ending up in foster care, like her and I didn't want that for him either. I legally adopted him before she passed when he was 6 years old. Not everyone in my family was on board at first, but he's the kind of kid that's hard not to love, so they warmed up to him. My sister never did. She hated that I brought the son of my ex-fiancé into my family, and I understood why it was painful. But Keith's and Jesse's best interests were my main priority. That is how we drifted apart. Last weekend was my birthday, and I had a small barbecue at my place. My parents have tried hard to mend things between us, so they convinced me to let her come too so we can chat. I thought that meant that she was cool with Keith because obviously the three of us are a package deal. I asked my parents how would she feel about Keith. They said not to worry about it. Again, I took it as she came around. Only she wasn't told that he would also be present. But how could he not be? He lives there. My sister got there and she was mad when she saw him. She very specifically said, "I thought this was family only. What's he doing here?" Loud enough where he could have easily heard, but thankfully he was playing with his brother. My sister was pissed because my parents told her Keith wouldn't be around, and I got pissed when she told me she didn't want him here, expecting me to do something about it. So I just told her to leave, and she's not welcome here then. There was some back and forth from her and my parents, and I didn't want that kind of talk around my sons, so I still made her leave. My mum seems to think I was a huge asshole for kicking her out of my party instead of trying to work things out. Like, they take Keith somewhere out of sight while me and her talk, but to me, what's the point of us working it out if that's how she still feels towards my son? Well, this is still causing some conflict since I escalated the feud by making her leave instead of actually talking to her. Am I the arsehole? Alright, we'll give a Markee opinion. I think the sister is the one that escalated the situation here. I don't get why it's still causing some conflict. I don't see how it's escalation when she refuses to talk. It feels like this was the only option you had left. This was the last resort. I don't think she should be allowed to give that toxic energy to your adopted son, regardless of the circumstances of how he came into your life. Like, you know how she's going to act if she continues to stay there. You say in the explanation down below that you made the situation worse by kicking her out instead of compromising for her and talking things out. I can't comprehend any better way to protect this child than to get rid of her at this point. And if that makes you an asshole in hers and the parents' eyes, like, good. It protects the child. They're the most important one in this story at the end of the day. Father is in jail, mum's dead since the age of 6. Like, what support does this kid have in his life? It is no way to be treating this kid. My heart breaks for Keith, for this child. This behavior from your sister, quite frankly, is worthy of you cutting her out of your life entirely, and I wouldn't blame you if you did. I'm gonna go not the arsehole for this one. Your parents and your sister both suck massively. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Regardless of what happened in the past between consenting adults, Keith is a child and is absolutely innocent. Bless you, OP, for having such a huge heart and opening up your home to another son. You rock. Who wants to bet that poor kid heard but pretended not to? Yeah, little ears hear everything. When my son was 1, we bought a new AC unit, and I mentioned in passing to my in-laws that we used the vacation money for it. Weeks later, I was looking at pictures of my son's daycare playgroup with him, and he points at one of his friends, Abby. I said, yes, Abby's on vacation this week. That's why she's not at daycare. He looked at me, pointed at the AC, and said, vacation. They hear and remember everything, even more when it's something hurtful. So, let me get this straight. Essentially, the same exact thing happens to both you and your sister, you were both cheated on, and you do a remarkably decent thing and adopt the child that resulted from it, yet she can't even be in the same room as said child. Why does she think her pain from said incident is so much more traumatic than yours? Does she even realize, comparatively speaking, what a petty little human she must be? Dude, you are so not the asshole, and kudos for being a generally good human. We need more people like you in the world today. And OP replies, I don't know how people handle this stuff different, I guess. For me, I had my son to think about, and that I didn't want him growing up without knowing his other brother. Therapy was a huge help, and I wish that she'd believe in that kind of thing, or at least give it a try. She has chosen to handle it like a brat and to punish a child. Keith is old enough for her to have plenty of time to process her loss, and also, Keith lost his mum and bio-dad as a child. She lost a shitty fiancé as an adult. It's really pathetic that she doesn't have a sense of perspective here. You do not take crap out on kids. They are innocent. You give them the best and you are kind to them, period. You have a good heart. Trust your instincts and enjoy your babies. Lord knows they grow up too fast for you to waste time on anyone who doesn't love them and support you as a parent. And now onto the update. Okay, I actually wasn't going to add anything, but figured since conflict is somewhat resolved, why not? This issue was mostly on my parents, and I decided to contact my sister to discuss what to do with them. It was a very tense conversation. Really, really tense. She was still very mad at me. Lots of resentment, obviously. I was angry at her for her reaction at my party, but at least we managed to remain civil and kept the topic solely on our parents to make sure they don't try to pull something like this again. We agreed neither of us will be in each other's lives, her issues are with Keith, and me not wanting to exclude him as he's a big part of my life, and agreed that we both needed to speak to them together to get that point across. When we met up with them, we told them they're going to have to accept that this is how it's going to be. Do holidays and celebrations like we have done them before, separate, one of us not attending, or showing up after the other has left. And they are not allowed to push us into talking, ambush us the way they did again, or that'll result in losing us both permanently. In the end, they seem to have got it. At least they apologized and that was that. My sister and I went our separate ways. Does it absolutely suck? Yes, but that is where life has taken us. At least now, none of us have to worry too much if we're going to get tricked into a meeting again. At least I hope not. Oh, and one thing I wanted to address, my son. I did see a few comments concerned if Keith heard what she said or not, or maybe he pretended not to. And I kinda hoped that he just didn't care since I didn't see a reaction, but thanks for pointing that out. In case he did, I didn't want him internalizing that. Unfortunately, yes, he did hear. We had a whole conversation about several nights ago, alone. He didn't want to admit at first he heard her, but you can tell from kids. These heavy things never get easy explaining to a kid. Best I could say was she was just angry, and angry people sometimes say mean things for no reasons. But no matter what, he's family. He knows he's my boy, and I love him and his brother too. And I'm glad he knows that, and I'm glad people brought it to my attention. I'm glad to have gotten Reddit support and wisdom. I appreciate it so much. Not a perfect ending where everyone got along, but at least boundaries have been drawn and less chances of this happening again. And that's the end of that post. I'm going to read some comments. I'm glad you were able to have an in-depth discussion with your son. Definitely keep your boundaries up and watch for any self-hate talk / I don't belong with you talk, just in case. The way you handled your parents with your sister was kind of amazing. Choose to deal with this topic / your parents' behavior, tricking both of you, and then stay away from me. OP says to that, I think it needed to be done this way so that they both know that we are serious, as hard as it was to have to talk this out without it resulting in other arguments. I just wanted to say that I think that you've handled everything that has been thrown at you with remarkable grace and aplomb? I don't know what that is. Your sons are both extremely lucky to have you as a father. I wish the three of you a very happy and healthy life. Oh, that's a word, aplomb. Self-confidence or assurance, especially when in a demanding situation. Your kids are very lucky to have a mature, compassionate father like you. I'm sorry you're going through this, but just know that your kids will thank you someday for having their back and loving them unconditionally. OP replies, nothing I haven't accepted already, so it's fine. My boys bring so much into my life and I'll never regret that. It goes by fast, OP. Hold on to the present as much as possible because one day you'll wake up and your boys will be grown-ass adults calling to make sure you are doing okay instead of the other way around. It's a wild, wonderful life. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to talk with my mother? I, 21 female, love my long hair. It's because when I was little, my mother, 54 female, used to take me to the hairdressers and make them cut my hair really short. When I was a teen, I started not to go to hairdressers with my mother, so I had long hair. 3 days ago, it changed. Because of COVID, I wasn't able to go to my own hairdresser because their place is a little far from my home. My hair started to get split ends, and it was going below my butt. My mother was going to cut her hair, as she loves short hair. She asked me to join her, but at first I said no because I didn't trust her. I thought she would pull the same trick like when I was little, telling people to cut my hair shorter. She insisted and said that she wouldn't do anything, and it's not her business anyway. So I said okay, and she had an appointment for me too. We went there, and 2 employees were doing my hair because it was too long. I constantly let them know that when my hair is cut short, I fell into a bad place psychologically. They said okay, we won't cut it short. One of the girls pressed the comb to my waist and told me, I'm gonna cut it from here, okay? And I said yes, because waist is a good length for me. She then cut it from above, but I thought that it was her hand or something. When the cutting was done, they showed me my hair, and it was like a hand below my shoulders. I can't reach my hair from back without pushing my arms. I was devastated, but I couldn't say anything because they spent such a long time doing it. Apparently I'm a doormat. When we went home, I started crying. It didn't stop. I still cry when I look at the mirror, when I touch my hair. I said that I'm going to make a complaint about the hairdresser, and my mum said, I told them to cut it that short. It's better now. You should thank me. And when I heard this, I was angry with her, with the hairdresser who didn't listen to me, an adult, and my wishes about my hair. And I was angry with myself too for trusting my mother. I still made a complaint, my brother and my father agree with this, and my father said, I'm on your side on this, and I will help you with the case if anything comes up. However, I am not talking with my mother. I refuse to call her mother, and I clearly say that she's dead to me. I refer to her as my brother's mother or my father's wife. My brother is okay with it, but my father says even though I'm right, I shouldn't do this because she is my mother after all. I am so angry with her, but also when I remember the times that she forgave me for my mistakes, I feel bad for behaving badly towards her. My father insists that I should stop and says that my hair will grow again, so I shouldn't keep this up against my mother. Now in the comments, not the arsehole. It is your hair, and what kind of salon gives someone a haircut based on what someone else asks for? It's a parent's job to forgive kids their mistakes. Kids make mistakes by nature, and parents are supposed to be there to guide them and help them to be better people. Your mum is too old to be making the mistake of stomping on her grown child's autonomy. You don't have to forgive this. And based on this ridiculous behavior, the hairdresser should have a nice new review warning others that they will listen to and do as others request when cutting an adult's hair. Your mum is the asshole, the hairdresser is the asshole, and it is true that your hair will grow back, but you shouldn't have been put in that position regardless. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your mum is overbearing and has no respect for your bodily autonomy or your personal boundaries. However, you are not going to get very far by telling her that she's dead to you and by calling her your father's wife. She will use it as a reason to victimize herself and showcase you as the ungrateful villain. Explain to her why it hurt you. Tell her how you felt disrespected and hurt and how that decision was yours to make. Ask her how would she feel if you shaved her head one day without consent. Try to get her to understand how and why it was so hurtful to you, and why you felt like it was a betrayal of your trust. Calling her names and cutting her off completely likely will only make things worse, especially if you're not in a situation to move out and become financially or otherwise independent. And OP replies to that, "Thank you for your comment, but she made fun of me when I was crying, and she told me that it's not a big deal. When I tried to tell her my heart aches because of this, like you said, she calls me ungrateful. She also calls my aunts to tell them this, so yeah, she's already victimizing herself and I'm constantly crying." Classic narcissist and emotionally abusive parent. I'm sorry you have to experience this, OP. Is it a reality for you to be able to get out and live on your own in the near future? And OP replies, "I'm going to go to uni and I will graduate next year. I have plans to get out of the country, so until then, I have no choice but death, literally." And now on to the update. Hi, after almost a month I came with an update. This month was rough. I was the rudest I've ever been to my mum. We were fighting every day and she didn't apologize. She's the type that won't say the words "I'm sorry," but rather does things like making me nice breakfasts, my favorite dinners, and buying me clothes, etc. But I decided that these gestures aren't it, and kept insisting on worded apology because I wanted her to acknowledge what she did to me with her actions. Just today, I got my apology. My brother was out with friends, and my father was also out for work. I said, "I just want an apology. It's simple. No one's here, so apologize to me and it will be okay." She teared up and said, "I'm sorry." So I teared up and asked, "What are you sorry for?" And she said, "I'm sorry for upsetting you by making people cut your hair." Then I accepted her apology, we hugged and cried a little. We are fighting free until our next fight. After the crying session, she showed me some hair professional's Instagram account that gives long hair tips, etc. I believe she understands the situation better now. I still won't be going to a hair salon with her, but okay, smiley face. For people who are worried about my mental health and my strong connection to my hair, unfortunately I couldn't find a psychologist who meets my needs. We are still searching, but sorry for no good news about this aspect. Also, the complaint I made isn't finalized yet. The organization kept pushing the date because there was national holidays around this time, but I still call them almost every day. I am pretty sure the lady who answers the phone is pissed, but I'm determined. I will get my justice. My mum told me to drop the case because the hairdresser wasn't the owner. She was just an employee. My mum says, she's just working there, don't make her lose her income. And I said, well, I will be graduating next year, and when I start working and doing something wrong, people will report me. Things don't work like how it is in your mind. So there's that. I also wanted to thank you for your kind messages, suggestions, and support. I would have been sold on a dinner, but I remembered your comments and I stood my ground. I still ate the food though. I hope this update is good enough. Now in the comments, the hairdresser should also be held accountable. She refused to listen to the person whose hair she is doing and instead listened to someone who went against your wishes. It was her job to cut the hair of the person she's cutting how they want, not to listen to anyone else about what style would be better. And maybe it'll drum into your mum's head that actions have consequences. She conspired with the hairdresser in regards to this mess. She got off easy. I would not have let her off until I could pick out mum's next haircut, and it would not be a nice one. Exactly. Next time mum thinks about recruiting some minions to do her bidding, she can think back to how she's helped this stylist lose her job. She said, "I'm sorry for upsetting you by making people cut your hair." That's not an apology. An apology would list her actions, acknowledged how it affected you in a sincere, caring manner. Something like, "I'm sorry I disregarded your wishes again and paid someone to deliberately violate your body autonomy." That is an apology. What she said was basically, "I'm sorry that you got upset because I decided that your wishes were less important than mine." Good luck, OP. She is gaslighting you. And OP replies to that, "I get a lot of comments like this. My mum accepted that it was her fault. She didn't say something like, 'I'm sorry that you are upset.' I especially asked, 'What are you sorry for?' to understand if she really knows that this is her fault. I agree that she kinda pushed the blame to the hairdresser, but still admitted that she was in the wrong for making me miserable for that first couple weeks. After my first post, I read a lot about narcissistic parents, and I talked with my friend who graduated from psychology about this. To be honest, I never expected her to apologize with all the information I got about narcissists. I also know that her apologizing when there was no one around is also sketchy, but it's the best I can get. Even though I kinda want to forgive her now, I will not forget this, of course. I know we will always have issues, but I also know I will not be in the same country with her in a couple of years. If things work out, that is. So this half apology is something I'm okay with, because it's like expecting a fish to fly. The best the fish can do is jump from the water to the surface and fall back into the water. Same as mum. She half apologized, and it's still impressive because it's the max thing she can manage, unfortunately. I'm not saying this is okay, I probably do give her an easy pass, but being in fights 24/7 with an authority figure in your house is exhausting, and she was making my father's life miserable too. Anyway guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you did like it, tell me what you thought about it down in the comments below, and make sure to just interact with everyone in this community. I love each and every one of you that I get to see on a daily basis. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon subscriber, I love you. You're on the screen right now with the YouTube members as well. If you see yourself, give yourself a pat in the back. You guys help me continue this YouTube journey. You keep me going. I see you guys everywhere. I see your messages, and thank you so much for supporting me. I really love every single one of you. But with that all said, I'm going to be signing off now, guys. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.